Bruchim habayim ledikduk dakot. This video will cover missing letters. As you remember, every Hebrew verb starts from a 3-letter root. However, sometimes we come upon a verb where we only have 2 or maybe even 1 root letter visible. Then, in order to find the meaning of the word, look it up in the lexicon, we have to figure out which letter is missing so that we know what the 3-letter root is. There are rules in your textbook for finding out what the missing letter is in an imperfect verb. So missing letter rules apply to imperfect verbs. Now, as you remember, the rules are not really that. They're actually a description of how a language works. So we're using the word rules, but we really mean description. And you can use those rules in that chart to help you figure out which root letter is missing. But today, I'm going to walk you through a series of questions that will help you get to that result. As you remember, letters that disappear from verbs are generally the weak letters, which are He, Vav, Yod, and Nun. So when you come upon a word and you are starting to figure out how to look it up, the first question to ask yourself is it a verb? And if the answer is no, then your next project is to figure out what that word is. If the answer is yes, it is a verb, then can you identify all 3 root letters? If you can, great. You have no missing letters and you're ready to look it up in the lexicon. If you cannot identify all 3 root letters, then ask yourself if you already know what the 3 root letters are because this word is familiar. There are several words that lose letters that are very common, and before long you will be able to recognize them even though all 3 root letters are not present. If you can recognize it, you're good to go. If you don't recognize it, then look to see if there's a dagesh in the first visible root letter. If there is a dagesh in the first visible root letter, then you probably have a p132 verb. Now remember, p132 means that nun is the first letter of the root. So you have a missing initial nun, or perhaps the root is lakach and the lamed is missing. That's the exception to the general rule of p132 for a dagesh in the first visible root letter. If there is no dagesh in the first visible root letter, then ask yourself what vowel is under the prefix. If the vowel under the prefix is a tsere, you have probably a pei yod or a pei he verb. So in other words, you have a missing initial yod or you have a missing initial he. If you have a kametz under the prefix, chances are very good that you are looking at a hollow verb, in which case you are missing either a middle yod or a middle vav. If there's something else under the prefix, a patach or a hirich in most cases, you are probably looking at a lamed he. So that means that your word is missing a final he. When you figure out the letter that's missing and the position that that letter is in, you will know what the root is so that you can figure out how to look it up in the lexicon.